Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day and weekend. Happy, Sunday to you and your family. We're taking a look, of course, here at Bitcoin, helping understand the best practice and hopefully big picture for scenarios like this. And in all reality, it doesn't look fantastic. There's no doubt about it. And in also, other firm realities too, it's a weekend. So weekends are a little funky. And a lot of times it's best just to kind of avoid trading on the weekends, unless you have a significant confirmation or things of that nature. Those are things I like to teach though, so if you want to kind of become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a website. Link in the description below. I have a trading academy, community, and signals group where we essentially learn and grow together, and I share signals for all the trades that I take. Furthermore, also have some amazing community members taking some awesome profits here. Nice short there from Blessed Acres, and of course Jimmy with the nice little chilies here. He's starting to learn how to use leverage. That's, again, something that we all do and learn together. So it's really cool to be able to have that experience. We're also using the best exchange in the country. Well, world more so rather, of course, but country because we do have a lot of US residents using this exchange. I have a $10,000 prize pool monthly. So if you use the link in the description below, you'll be eligible for that. And for right now, they are using the King's Cup Global Invitation, essentially, for this, which I think just kicked off here today, or today is the very, very last day to join. Okay, so just something you might want to consider taking a look at, but Bitget is my favorite exchange by far. So here's the thing with Bitcoin. Not fantastic. We had a pretty healthy sell-off a few hours ago this morning. Basically slept through that, but wouldn't have mattered because I don't really try to trade much into the weekends anyways. But regardless of that fact here, we can kind of see the price action coming down, as well as the RSI just kind of relatively staying the same. It's pretty consistent right now. The only positive we can really kind of draw from this is the fact that the moving average convergence divergence is slowly going to converge here in the near future if we continue to go sideways like this. Now, there may not be a strong convergence. It's just one of those things that kind of we're losing that momentum to the downside, and the likelihood of a pullback to the upside is greater based on that sentiment. Okay, so again, some positive stuff there in that regard, but in essence, the big picture here still looks very bearish. We're underneath all moving averages. There's really nothing that we can really glean here that's super awesome to the upside. Okay, I just think we will see an inevitable increase based on just the way that things are trending here. We've got some sideways action at a key level support here right around 16,575, so 16.6 is a round number essentially. And I mentioned yesterday a closure above 16,600 would be potentially beneficial going into the weekend. And we've continued to remain the same there or above that level. While today's price action is right at that level, it hasn't broken below yet. Okay, so we're still closing above tentatively. All right. Trading day is still not over, but again, Sundays and Saturdays are kind of weird like that. We have really strange volatility and volume over the weekend. So take a look at the 4-hour. We can kind of see here with the simple moving averages, we are essentially still below all three of them. Okay, the 200 is the one that I focus on the most. That's up there closer to about 19,000. So we're a ways away from that one even being relevant. So I'm not super concerned with those things there. What I do dislike, of course, is the fact that we are under 50 on the RSI on the 4-hour. Again, weekends, not the greatest, but on the same accord, that is still a relevant resistance level, and it's continuing to work itself down. Okay, so we're starting to make lower highs and lower lows tentatively. Of course, we haven't officially confirmed lower highs, but still not great in that sense as well. Take a look at the 4-hour here. We're starting to see a potential divergence on the MACD, but that's not really, all that official. Okay, so again, not the greatest, not the worst. I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where it could be better, could be a lot worse. So I know it sounds kind of stupid, right? But that's just kind of how weekends are. It's like I typically like to say, stuck on stupid. Oh, let's look at TD sequential and see if there's any continuation. Honestly, we're not seeing a lot of overextension to either side based on where we're at right now. Because again, a lot of resets. We got a 7, came down to a 6, came up to a 6. Now we're stuck on 4s and 3s and 2s. So really just not a lot of consistency there. It's just kind of squeezing itself into a type of wedge pattern, which could potentially break, again, more so likely to the upside based on the way that it's forming its higher lows. But on the same accord, really just depends on how the traditional markets behave Monday through Friday of next week. We really kind of got to see what that looks like. Futures aren't open just yet here, so I'll pay attention to that later this afternoon. Keep in mind Sunday nights. Again, this is Pacific Standard Time, but Sunday evening around, between 3 and 5, 3 and 7, there's a lot of volatility in the market. So just kind of pay attention on Sunday evenings. If you have an open position, kind of see what's going on there. And the reason why that's relevant is because the the futures essentially open at that time. And there's commonly gaps up and gaps down that you can see getting filled. And those are things we want to kind of pay attention to. Okay, so again, just a small little extra caveats you could say here that are fairly relevant, but not super important right now. Okay, so on the 1 hour, let's take a look at this here. You can see TD sequential came up to a 9, got overextended. Price pulls back down to a 7, goes sideways down to a 7 again. Mostly goes sideways here, up to a 5, and then down to another 7. So hypothetically, we could see another 7, but again, not a lot of consistency here. So in that sense, we really can't count on an overextension type of play here. But the bottom line is we came down to a 7, we worked down for a couple of hours, and the price has continued to stay above 16,500. So 16,500 seems to be a nice point, right around that 16.6 range, where we have a decent amount of support. We take a look at the volume too, we have probably the most amount of volume right around that range of 16.6. So that does kind of tell us that there's a strong chance that the price shouldn't go much lower, but again, weekends are really funky that way. The last thing we want to take a look at here is the cloud, but again, preface here, when we're range bound, which we have been for some time, the cloud can give you a lot of false positives. Okay, just as this is a prime example here where the price wicked up here, hopefully you didn't get caught in along there, because of course, even though it broke above, we still don't have confirmation. It's something I like to teach. Make sure you understand confirmation on the cloud requires at least 3 or 4 candlesticks closing above that level. I also have confirmation on my VWAP notification, and that's basically at least 2 green candlesticks on the 15-minute time frame, closing above both of EMA 15 and the volume weighted average price. So again, just some little things to kind of remember, I guess you could say. Again, no exact science, but the bottom line is we're mostly bearish here in this sense on the hourly, obviously based on the fact the last 24 hours have been pretty red. But if we take a look and can combine that with everything else, we're kind of just right at that 50-50 point. There's nothing confirming upside or downside at this level, except the fact that we have a lot of volume, kind of holding the price action in place. And we also have some moving averages that are working as resistance levels on larger time frames. So those will eventually become relevant, but for right now, we just have this ascending type of trend that's still ascending slightly bullishly, right? Again, because that moving average convergence divergence is starting to dissipate, and we're starting to see a potential convergence on the daily. So there's a handful of little things that are factoring in. But again, to me, there's not enough information here to really warrant a position, either long or short, unless, of course, you're just adding to your position the overall sense of things, which is important. Okay, so again, if you're adding to your HODL bag, 16.5 is going to be a pretty good value when you look at months or years down the road when the price is back on track. Again, Bitcoin shouldn't be going anywhere. I wouldn't worry too much about the whole FTX issue. It does suck and it's very unfortunate, but things have to happen for things to get better. And perhaps it's the start of the beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning, depending on how you look at it. And more so a positive light there in that sense. Because again, these things it's par for the course, unfortunately. Cryptocurrency is crazy. That's why you want to be conservative and careful with your trading styles. Try not to get wrecked, of course, and maximize your gains. So I hope that you can learn something here, of course. So sorry that this is kind of just a break-even type of situation. There's not a lot of definitive directions right now. And that's what trading is all about. It'll either be going up, sideways, or down, right? And the trick is to be able to identify that. Right now we're stuck on sideways, and that's just kind of the way that it goes. Until we find some kind of signs that are going to tell us to break bullish or bearish, we need to kind of remain calm and be patient, okay? Please. Patience is a very, very important factor when trading. Trust me, after 17 years, I've gotten wrecked if I hadn't been patient. Only ever will I do well if I'm consistent and being careful, and more so just having a good positive state of mind. Okay, so again, that's really extremely important. And obviously, to my community members, re-reference Chapter 7 of my Trading Academy so you can kind of familiarize yourself with the risk tolerance and how to manage your emotions. It's really important to understand that. Watch it over and over until you figure it out. All right, well, I hope you learned something here today. Thanks again for joining me. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.